good to see you.
Good to see you.
Blessed with your presence, thank you.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, good to have you back. Most of the football season must be getting close now, right? Yeah, so, following up on our conversation from last week, we've just been stacking days together here, just grinding along. And, it's getting better day by day. There's just no shortcut to it. You just have to keep stacking bricks and, building that strong foundation. We're definitely getting there from a conditioning standpoint, from a, overall fundamental and technique standpoint, and then, plays and so forth, kind of working some groups together as, teams start to separate a little bit. Some guys are getting more reps than others. It's that time of year where things, the team has to start to form to the guys that get the most playing time. And as we start the regular season, of course, that can always change as things go, but that's kind of where we are now. Had just a lot of good opportunities to practice. We have the ACC officials in here, and Daryl and his crew are here, and we saw them yesterday and met with them, and so that was obviously, as it always is, very helpful. And just tighten up a few things for us, in terms of like formations and alignments. What's holding, what isn't holding, what's interference, what isn't interference, what's a legal formation, what isn't a legal formation. Sometimes that's a fine line, and so actually working with the officials who work this conference and do our games was a good experience. They're here again today, again, we just continue to add things each day that get us closer to getting ready to start the season. And 2 weeks from today we'll be across the ocean, so we're getting closer, but still have some time. Definitely not ready to do that yet, but I think we're on pace to be there. Still got a lot of work to do, but that's about where we expect it to be. So today's kind of a big review day for us, and then this weekend we'll have a couple more competitive sessions before we start classes on Monday and get into a regular season type of academic and athletic practice schedule. So we're this weekend very much transitioning from training camp to what we'll do during the regular season as far as again our class schedule, study hall, practice times, lifting routines, things like that. So camp is winding down. Football's not, but camp is.
We'll get started in the front row.
Bill, what stands out about Payton Silman as a linebacker, and then what's he like in the film room?
Payton's kind of a little bit of a throwback guy. Doesn't say too much, but he's all business. Really tough, competitive kid, high effort player. He's always going as hard as he can, and it's been impressive to watch. He's a very distinctive player. Finds the ball, and has shown the ability to play on all 4 downs, in the kick game as well. Runs well. He's tough. He's a good tackler, and he's good. Very good football instincts. So glad we have him. Getting him and Derek, really give him a lot of skill, a lot of depth up in that position. So that's been good.
Third row on the right, Pat.
Morning, Bill. How have you shuffled the responsibilities with Steve out and Lombardi out, and kind of shuffled the front office responsibilities and the defensive coordinator responsibilities?
Yeah, same way we talked about it last week. Nothing changed. I'm just going to share some things, and hopefully this will be resolved soon.
Does that mean more responsibility? Are you taking on more responsibility either in the personnel?
Yeah, we've all shared things, but I'd say it hasn't really been an issue. Guys have people have picked up in areas, and we've done things that we have to do at this time of year. Things will change as they always do on the calendar, as recruiting changes, as the regular season comes into play. And so forth. So, but for this period, it's been the same until it changes, which will be in late August, early September.
Front row on the right, Mike.
Bill, good morning. I know the game's still a couple weeks away, but logistically, what does that trip look like for you guys? Like, when you eating, how do you plan to sort of adjust for the guys' sleep patterns, acclimation to time difference, things like that?
So all those arrangements payments have been handled by the people in our operations staff. They've done a great job of that. They've been involved in other international trips, including to, well, London, not Ireland, but similar. So all the things that need to take place, which are a multitude, you know, those people have a lot of experience with, and you know, good cooperation from the other side as well. So it's, I don't want to say those trips are standard. They're not. They're very different, but the planning and preparation that goes into it is to keep things as normal as possible for the team. The flight's the flight. Someone to go into the West Coast, just in the other direction. And you know, there's some other things that are unique to this game, and so they're just budgeted and scheduled. Both teams are working with the same, you know, same format. So plenty of other teams have gone over there. And, you know, certainly, it's worked out well. It's a great opportunity for all of us. Great opportunity for the game. But the guys that are doing the work behind the scenes have worked hard, going all the way back to the trips that they took over there back in March.
Front row on the far left pitch.
And Bill, you mentioned last week, obviously, that the next 10 days from there would be a competition period. Specifically looking at the quarterback room, how is that competition narrowed? And, is there a leader in the clubhouse now?
No, I don't think there's a leader in the clubhouse, but it's been very competitive. You know, they've all had, you know, a lot of really good moments, and you know, a couple that probably like to have back, like all of us do. So, you know, as we wind down in kind of the last half of that, as you mentioned, that's kind of where we are. But certainly, you know, overall on the team, you know, we have guys that are, you know, have made their move and are getting more playing time, and there's other guys that, you know, have to do more than earn that. So, but the quarterback position is very competitive.
And
So are some other positions I might add too. It's not the only one.
As your timeline on, naming a starting quarterback, either internally or externally, how is that narrowed?
Yeah, I mean, there's no deadline. There are other options on having a starting quarterback. So we'll evaluate those and try to figure out if that's safe for the team.
Front right hander.
Bill, with Jane Patterson at one corner, what is the other spot looking like? And specifically Trey Miller, we've seen him out there with the Bulls a couple times, we've been able to see you guys. How has he progressed? I know it's a soft spot. How is
Speaking over watching our practices.
Got to take a lot from this 20 minutes. So how has he progressed since last year? What are some areas he's better?
Trey, bigger. He's bigger. Yeah, he's put on a lot of good solid weight. He's a very competitive, fast, tough kid. But he's just bigger, and that's helping him with his tackling, his run force, jamming receivers, all those things. Been very dedicated. Not just in this camp, but going back to the off-season program. Working with Moses and the weight room, Amber on nutrition, things like that. He's a much stronger, more physical player with similar, if not better, speed than what he had last year. He's fast and explosive.
Right next to Coach Miller.
I'm going to follow up Trey real fast. He struggled a little bit last year at times. How much did he immerse himself in the film room, and where are some of the benefits he got from the film room?
Yeah, again, all of the above. He's improved physically, he's improved mentally in terms of understanding the defense, and also in terms of anticipating, what will happen offensively. I think, we have a better feel for what his strengths are, and we really certainly try to play into those with him, and he's done a good job. He's come through for us on the practice field and consistently. So, he's done a nice job. Worked really hard.
We've got about 6 minutes left. Noah, you go next.
Yeah, Bill, when you were watching Shaq McCroy, when he was in the portal watching film, and what were some of the things that popped right away? And to see him continue to develop over in preseason camp, what are some of the things that he needs to continue to work on to eventually earn a starting role on the offensive line?
Right. Well, Shaq's size is, immediately kind of jumps out at you. I mean, there's not a ton of film on him. Didn't play much at Oregon, hardly any film there, and then last year at Arkansas, just a couple games, and those were real early in the year. So, a lot of Shaq is developmental, both physically from a technique and playing confidence standpoint, which those certainly have come along and improved through the course of the spring and here again in training camp. So, I think he's a lot better player than he was when he got here. He's still working on, the normal things that offensive line needs, pad level, leverage, pass protection, and so forth. Picking out games with blitz pickup, things like that. So that's all coming together, but it's, you know, he's been out there every day. He's got a good work ethic, good attitude. He's always got a smile on his face. And, you know, he's just ready to, you know, strap up and go to work, and that work is, you know, paid off in improvement.
Third row on the right, Brian.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
Good, Ryan.
Two quick ones. One, do you plan to call plays on defense if the season started today?
Well, the season doesn't start today, so I get much hype about questions. You know.
And then secondly, when you're evaluating the quarterbacks, talked to Manny Diaz over at Duke the other day, and he talked about eliminating bad plays is more important than creating good ones. When you're evaluating, how much of that is eliminating mistakes versus a guy who can maybe make more positive plays?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I've always said that. I've said that about Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback in NFL history. As great as Tom was, and he was great, he made a lot of great plays, but the most important thing he did was he eliminated the bad ones. And for almost 2 decades, statistically, you know, the Patriots had the fewest negative running plays, fewest offensive penalties, fewest third and long situations. You know, fewest sacks, fewest intercept turnovers, and quarterback handles the ball on every play. So there's nothing more important than the decisions that the quarterback makes to make good plays, or in some cases spectacular and great plays, but most importantly on a down after down basis, you know, to eliminate the bad ones, not just at his position, but, you know, overall offensively. Sometimes quarterbacks can do things to, you know, to bail you out of a situation that doesn't look good. So, yeah, I agree with what Manny said, and I kind of said that about Tom Brady. As great as he was, the plays that stick out the most to me are the lack of negative ones, or the negative ones that he kept us out of when, you know, I made a bad call, or I put him in a situation where this protection was very good against the blitz they were showing, and he found a way to either get rid of the ball or change the protection so we could block it, things like that. So, yeah, eliminating negative plays is really probably more important than making a spectacular ones.
On the right, second row.
Man, we've seen Caleb Jackson wear the 62 jersey in practice. Is that related to his weight, and how has he looked in training camp?
Caleb's look good. He's a fast, explosive guy. He's good with the ball in his hands, hard guy to tackle. And you know, when he runs a good pad level, which he does most of the time, and he's got good speed in the open field. So, and done a good job of passing game, blitz pickup, and those kind of things. So, you know, I enjoyed having him on the team. I think he's going to definitely help us, and he's going to have a role. But he's had a good camp, and you know, just continues to, as he, you know, gets into our system and, you know, gains confidence with, you know, with the offense. But you know, Coach Means done a good job with him in terms of our run reads and pass protection, blitz pickup, stuff like that. He's done a nice job there.
With the
Back row on
62 jersey?
left.
Yeah, big back, big number.
Back row on the left, Greg.
Bill, how do you feel about the quality of depth along your defensive line?
Well, you know, I would say depth in August is different than depth in October and depth in November. You just don't know. So whatever depth you have, you like and keep, and hope you can hang on to it. And sometimes you gain depth if younger players come along and develop, which that happened last year in a number of positions. But you know, what you currently have, you try to keep those guys healthy at every position, and then you know, you want to develop young players so that they give you that depth. Maybe they don't give it to you today, but you know, by September, October, November, whenever it is, that you have depth from those players. So it's a combination of those two things. Every coach wants more depth than they have. I can tell you that. It doesn't matter how much depth you have, you want more. But a lot of it is you build the depth internally by the development of players, and that's a big part of our program. So, you know, I think we have enough young players on the defensive line, honestly, on the whole team. We have a lot of young players that, you know, hopefully their development will give us depth at all positions, not just the D line.
We'll finish up in front, left here, Coach.
Morning, Bill. Demond, I know, was a guy last year that kind of popped and flashed as a true freshman. What have you seen from them this offseason that'll, I guess, put him in a position to take the leap going into year 2?
Confidence for sure. You know, last year he was just, you know, like a lot of freshmen, trying to find his way, trying to get a role, get some playing time, you know, find something that he could do. And then he, you know, had an opportunity, took advantage of it, and you know, that's given them a lot of confidence and given us a lot of confidence as well. So whether it's in the passing game, carrying the ball, blitz pickup, just overall assignments and formations, things like that. You know, he's just obviously way ahead of where he was last year. You know, it's a new offense, but he's been able to, you know, carry that forward with the experience and confidence that he's gained. For all young players, but especially freshmen, that confidence is a big thing. You know, just you kind of go out there your freshman year and go up against guys that are more experienced and get beat up a little bit and they slick in and take advantage of stuff that you're not quite ready for. And then, you know, after you start having success and start learning some of the tricks a little bit yourself, then the game slows down a little bit and, you know, it just gives you an opportunity to perform better. So I throw a lot of our freshmen, redshirt freshmen in that category. Not the guys who just got here, but I'm saying the guys that are now sophomores or redshirt freshmen. I don't know if that term exists anymore with the new, you know, new eligibility rules, but, you know, guys in their second year. And that's pretty common. Again, I've always experienced that. You know, you see rookies come into the NFL and, you know, honestly, it's sometimes you gotta, you know, show them where the huddle is. You know, and then by the time they get to the second year, it's, you know, they're acting like they're 5-year veterans because they're so much further ahead than they were the first year when they, you know, barely knew what they were doing, had no idea what was going on the other side of the ball, didn't know how to condition, didn't know how to train, didn't know what the expectations were, just trying to survive day to day. You know, now those guys, you know, they know what the schedule is, they know what practice is going to be like, they know, you know, more about an idea of what's going to happen on the other side of the ball, how to anticipate things. They know what they're doing, they're more confident, they can play faster. It's that year makes a big difference.
Thanks,
All
everybody.
right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay.